Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. We're continuing our conversations pre-budget, and with us in studio is Kiran Singh, president of the Greater San Fernando Chamber of Commerce, to speak about business groups, their expectations, and just a little bit more. Good morning, Mr. Singh, and welcome.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be on the Now Morning Show in TTT.
It's a pleasure to have you back on set. Let's get straight into the conversation with some of the challenges that the business community is facing today. What are some of the key areas that stand out to you right now?
Well, now that the pandemic is over and we're back to more or less smooth sailing from an economic standpoint, we still have some challenges that continue to affect the business community. The ease of doing business continues to plague us. We somewhere not very close to the top where we should be. We know that the government is working hard assiduously to engineer us getting back to the top through the single electronic window and various other electronic platforms to get us there, because to get a business up and running is not an easy thing in this country.
Right.
You know, from registering the name of a business to going into the VAT office, going into BIR to get numbers for yourself, for your workers, for the company, can be quite a tedious, arduous process. And we would like to see that addressed in the budget, that we don't want business people to feel frustrated, but to feel that they are partnered and welcomed with the government to work with them. So because the private sector contributes a lot from an employment standpoint and, of course, an investment point of view as well. And we would want to see that our level move up the scale. And that would send a strong, powerful signal to foreign investors as well, that we are serious about doing business in this country. It shouldn't take that long to register a name of a business. This is done online very easily in developed countries, and it should be the same way in this country. And we expect that the Ministry of Digitalization would be addressing this issue as well. We want to see the economy diversified. We still an oil and gas based economy, and we depend on a finite resource. This is a fossil fuel that is going to be depleted sooner than later. We depend on finding reserves and looking for alternatives. Guyana has passed us. This is the reality. They are now the superpower of oil and gas in our part of the world. We have to find alternate revenue generating streams for us to survive in this very competitive environment on a global scale. We cannot depend on oil and gas anymore. And the vagaries of the dropping of price and increases, and it affects our economy sometimes in more negative than positive. And this is something that we want to stay away from. And if we can get constant revenue streams, then certainly we'll be on a greater growth path. International financial agencies haven't given us very much positive growth projections and forecasts for the future. But that aside, we can work towards improving that if we look at our own home-based economy and how we can grow that. And hopefully the minister will be addressing that on Monday for us. Natasha. You
know, you've just mentioned so many key things here, speaking about diversification, speaking about the Forex issue as well, and simple things such as access for businesses and how it could definitely change and really, I would say, improve our business landscape. Let's go to the global portion of this and its effect on our economy before we get into some of the recommendations. How would you say global economic issues such as like supply chain, for example, demand, affect our local businesses, if at all?
What happened, we would all remember during the pandemic. Shipping rates skyrocketed. They tripled, went up by 500%. Insurance rates went up. We were given the assurances by the different agencies, local and foreign, that we would see the rates dropping and that the price of goods on the shelves, we would see the prices dropping. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that. And I don't want to cast aspersions, but some business people have to take some part of the blame too for not reducing their prices. They're unscrupulous sometimes in their trading practices. The shipping rates did drop a bit, but not significantly to the point where it was pre-pandemic. And this is unfortunate because what is the reason as to why the shipping rates have not been reduced to where they were prior? The oil prices have more or less stabilized, and insurance rates were also supposed to be more in tandem as opposed to what they once were. We do live in the hurricane belt, but it's only when the hurricanes affect us that we would see the insurance rate adjusted. That is not happening. And it affects the price of goods. It causes inflation to come from an external perspective, which is beyond our control in this country. And we have to accept that and adapt to the price conditions. And if we're not able to do that, then we see closures, we see persons basically choosing what they will purchase on the shelves. And this is something that has to be addressed. And it's difficult for the Minister of Finance to deal with that because it's a more private sector thing. But we would want to see maybe some more competition. The insurance industry is very competitive, but we have to pay in US dollars.
Right.
And US dollars is better than gold right now in this country. We all know it is extremely difficult to get US currency. Our economy is not what it once was. We're somewhat challenged by conditions that affect us externally and the global factors, of course. The Russia invasion of Ukraine, of course, has contributed to the escalation of certain food commodities that will affect us because wheat and grain and so on comes from that part of the world. And how that impacts us, we can't get away from that. And we would want business people to take their responsibility a bit more seriously and curb their margins so that we could all survive. We have, we continue to say we have to live here together, we have to survive together in order for our children to benefit from the foundation we have laid here today.
Agreed. And speaking about, of course, essentially the future, one of the things that we would like to consider being the future is diversification, which you would have touched on, which of course will also tie into the Forex situation we are currently experiencing in Trinidad and Tobago. I know previously when there would have been discussions about the budget, you would have touched on some areas that definitely would be able to contribute to that diversification and Forex, such as ecotourism, for example. Can you share with us some of the other recommendations that may bring that positive impact to our economy?
So recently we saw a spark of hope, of development, where a group of foreign investors bought the steel mill. That is going to create employment, generate foreign exchange for us, and sort of breathe some life back into the Point Lisa estate, that area that has somewhat diminished in contribution to the economy within the last few years. And on a global scale, when they see that Trinidad and Tobago has such peaceful surroundings for foreign investors to be comfortable and come here and contribute to the development of our country, we can see other investors also coming in to bring their plants here. We still have a relatively competitive labor cost. Mm-hmm. And of course, our capital expenditure is here, which encourages that development. We would want to see the development of the yachting industry. We have our West Coast is somewhat of a safe harbor. The hurricane that affected our Caribbean neighbors recently, the yachties, for instance, they came to our shores for safe haven. Yeah. And this is something we can develop, we can explore. Labrie has a facility that we can explore for additional marine services. Chaguaramas is doing quite well, but we want to expand it to San Fernando as well. We have a large waterfront development that is taking place right now. In fact, that is, if I'm not corrected, but that should be the largest government expenditure project in the country. And we're happy that the government is paying attention to San Fernando. When the waterfront is complete, it will bring tourism, capital investment, fishing industry will expand, water tourism, casinos, hotels, housing. It's going to bring a lot of activity. We see it as a new economic frontier for the southern peninsula of this country, and this is what we need in San Fernando, given the slowdown of the economy over the last few years. And with this development, it is happening at pace. The road work is going on as we speak, and the infrastructure development is starting. We have the fishing facility, which is expanding. And this is going to bring much needed infrastructure and development to San Fernando in the very near future.
So it's good to know, of course, that all these things are already on the table and you've shared business perspectives rather on what has happened, what is to come and how we've been impacted. But let's now speak about what's coming on Monday. We have the budget. What are some of the recommendations from the business sector, or what would you like to see on the table as the way forward for our next year?
So this is a issue we speak about all the time. VAT refunds continue to not come in a timely manner. We know that some disbursement was happening over the last few months, but the VAT refunds for businesses that fall within the SME sector, it tends to be, it contributes to the lifeblood of the business. And without that funds coming in to inject back into the business, we're not able to buy goods, restock the shelves in time. And with Christmas knocking on our doors, we need the VAT refunds now, not later, so that we can prepare for the Christmas season, which is the time when a lot of businesses and investors recoup their investments over the 1 year period. And we would want to see the minister, we know that he will be challenged to share the pie which has shrunk over the years to satisfy some of the demands within the SME sector. We still somewhat largely retail based, but we create employment, we sustain employment, and we contribute significantly to the labor force after the government. So we need that injection of the money into the money supply for us to continue our business survivability going forward. We would want to see some attention paid to the marine sector. We were speaking about that earlier. We would want to see some development taking place to invite yachties to come to our shores where we can generate foreign exchange. We would want to see the full potential. I know that you all were speaking to the Agricultural Society earlier. But agriculture certainly hasn't realized its full potential in this country. There's a lot of arable land still. We have a lot of farming opportunities. The government does have a lot of incentives and grant programs for agriculturists and young entrepreneurs willing to get into the program. The thing is, we need to make agriculture look sexy. Mm-hmm. It looks boring to the youth.
Yes.
It's hard work, hot sun. There's no thrill in getting into it. So we need to develop some sort of mechanism where we can get them excited to get into it. And maybe the immigrant labor force that we have, which is quite large, maybe we can incentivize them in some way to get into the farming project, similar to what developed countries have a 6-month period. And we know of persons who leave our country and go there, work for 6 months, and come back. Certainly we can devise some sort of program similar in nature and benefit from the large immigrant force that we have here. Tourism is a next sector that we can benefit from, that generates net foreign exchange. Carnival is probably the largest public-private sector type of arrangement we have that works harmoniously with the society, but it only happens once a year. We can look for other opportunities within the tourism sector to bring foreign exchange into our country. If that happens, we can certainly lead to greater diversification of the economy, which is not happening. And if that happens, we can certainly look to a greater future, economically speaking, with the foreign exchange issue, Natasha.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the things that you mentioned, they're hoping that they'll be taken into consideration, of course. You would have mentioned as well the issue, well, not the issue, I'll say, but the fact that, yes, we do have a large immigrant society here now in Trinidad and Tobago, which does lend, very briefly, if we have some time to touch on the border situation. I know that previously one of the things that would have been commented on was looking at that investment in the borders, tightening them up to see whether or not that is going to, let's say, clamp down on some of the illegal trade. Is that still something at the forefront of businesses' minds?
Border security, of course, would be at the top of the list. We have very porous borders, unfortunately, where it appears that the Coast Guard needs some assistance with their infrastructure. We understand some of the vessels don't seem to be operational for some reason. So we expect the minister will address that on Monday as to how he's going to ensure that we have proper equipment for the Coast Guard to ensure the borders remain safe, because we have so many unfortunate illegal guns and ammunition coming into the country, and we haven't been able to grapple with that in a serious way to stop that influx, which is causing the youth to carry these grievous, deadly crimes through the gun, and we have to stop that.
Yeah.
The youths need guidance through different measures, through the school system, maybe ensuring that we get back to, we once had technical vocational programs in the school system. Maybe we can reintroduce that into the curriculum to ensure that youths don't go astray.
Right.
Not everyone is meant to read the book, but they can become a plumber, electrician, technician. There's so many trades are available out there for youths to get them involved, to become income-generating individuals rather than looking for a job in government service, which is top-heavy and overly labored. And we need to look at how to deal with that.
There is so much that we need to look at, and I really wish we had more time to just continue this discussion, get in further into some of the illegal trade, how it impacts businesses and so much more, but unfortunately we have run out of time. But Mr. Singh, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and all the best to you and your team, and I hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thanks for having me, and Trinidad and Tobago, be safe out there.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Kiran Singh, President this morning of the area of San Fernando Chamber and Commerce, to talk to us about the business groups and Budget 2024. Stay tuned. We have some entertainment coming up after this break.